Recently, I've noticed an explosion of interest in how to look like a rich person, how to get that old money aesthetic, how to dress stealth wealth, quiet luxury, how to dress like a rich person when you are a regular person, how rich people dress like regular people when they're going incognito, and the brands that they know about that you don't know about, the subset of rich people who cosplay as poor people, all that recommended to me. And like a content consuming fiend, I gobbled it all up, and now I'm gonna regurgitate it back to you in under 15 minutes or less. My name is Teresa, and this is stealth wealth, quiet luxury, and working class tourism. So today we're going to talk about the holy trinity of fashion aesthetics having to do with how to dress like a rich person, which is very popular right now. Stealth wealth, quiet luxury, sometimes they're used interchangeably, but there's a difference. In the third category, we're going to talk about something called working class tourism, what happens when rich people dress like poor people. Either way you slice it, it's probably gonna step on a few toes. So last year, old money, the old money aesthetic blew up in popularity on social media, particularly TikTok. An aesthetic is essentially a fashion stereotype. So the old money aesthetic is basically regular people who are not in the old money club fantasizing about what it would take to dress like they're part of the old money club. Old money meaning that you came from generations of wealth. So for somebody who doesn't belong to this club, it encompasses a beach house in the Hamptons, a legacy membership to a country club that involves tennis. You're wearing your tennis outfit out and about, your little white tennis skirt. It's like a Frankenstein of the preppy look, yachting look, polo, basically lifestyles of the rich and famous. And these are fantasies. And I realized that a lot of people are very sensitive about what old money means. And I'm thinking those people are rich people, like very sensitive rich people who really wants to make it known not all rich people are in country clubs and not all rich people play tennis or polo or own like a horse. So yes, we are aware that that does not encompass everyone, but what we're dealing with here is an aesthetic. It's a fantasy here. It's a fantasy. I feel like rich people should be honored that poor people want to dress like them. On the other hand, I don't know how poor people would feel if rich people dressed like them, and we're going to talk about that. Stealth wealth is best illustrated by a billionaire. Let's say Mark Zuckerberg, one of the richest men on earth, but he dresses very nondescriptly. In the old days, he's famous for his gray Gap hoodie, his jeans, Adidas slides. Very normal, kind of sloppy, not what you think a billionaire would dress like. Here's the question: what do you think a billionaire should dress like? What is your stereotypical idea of what a billionaire should wear? My version of what a billionaire would look like is somebody in a really tailored suit, in a very expensive, well-tailored suit, maybe with a pocket square, a Rolex, very polished shoes, very, very neat. Somebody who looks like a CEO, somebody who looks like they're about to board a private jet, and Mark Zuckerberg doesn't fit the bill, Bill Gates doesn't fit the bill, Steve Jobs doesn't fit the bill. So that is stealth wealth. Somebody who is very rich, whether they're famous or not, who dresses just like a normal person. Like if you didn't know who they were and you met them in a bar, you would just have like a normal conversation with them. And that in essence is stealth wealth. It doesn't necessarily mean that because they can afford more expensive clothing items that they're going to wear expensive clothing items. We don't know what kind of brand of jeans Mark Zuckerberg wears on a normal basis. We don't know what kind of brand of polo shirt that Bill Gates wears. They could be $600 or they could be $60. Mark Zuckerberg could be a frequent shopper of J. Crew for all we know. So the thing with quiet luxury is that you look very normal. You obviously look very tailored, put together, well dressed, and you look like you are just going to work. You probably look like your middle management, upper management in a corporate job. Usually the pieces you see are like a tailored blazer, tailored slacks, a silk dress shirt, some heels, some boots, very understated bag, no labels, usually solid colored, nothing very loud. And if you're around the regular Joe, they would think that you probably purchased your outfit from Ann Taylor, J. Crew, Banana Republic. If you are around people of your moneyed circle, then they would know that your overcoat came from the Row and your shirt came from Brunello Cucinelli, and it probably costs a pretty penny. We're talking about a $3,000 shirt, a $20,000 coat. In the case of Secession, in the case of Kendall Roy's black baseball cap, we're talking about a $600 baseball cap that looks like a $50 baseball cap. So quiet luxury, if you know, you know. In my old money video, one of the comments was, if regular people started dressing like rich people, then how can rich people distinguish themselves? How do you distinguish yourself? You move the goalposts so that you could get farther up from new money. There's been an explosion of newly minted millionaires in the United States and other countries like China, like Dubai, with ungodly amounts of money. And if you have enough money, you could buy anything. This new wave of money have figured out that Gucci and Balenciaga and Prada and all the brands that you know and you've heard of are the status symbol for money. Now you have to move on to brands that the layperson has not heard of. An understated brand that is just equally as expensive, and then you buy all this stuff. Why? Why do you buy them? You know why? So that you can feel better. Let's get cozy here and let's talk about the spending habits of rich people. When I used to work in customer service, oh dear God, I dealt with some wealthy people. Most people who are kind of self-made and well-off, how do I put this diplomatically? They're very careful with their money, very frugal habits. They're not waltzing in covered in logos. You know that they're well-off and they look very normal. And their cars are also very normal. There could be a BMW here and there, a Mercedes here and there, but more or less they drive a Camry, a RAV4, maybe a Subaru. It's just very understated. And some people are extremely frugal with their money, let me tell you. Like, will penny pinch a $5 charge, with penny pinch even a $1 charge will not escape their notice. And some people, you know, have money but are on government assistance. That's a little fishy there, but that's one way to cut a few expenses. Just have the government pay for it. For stealth wealth, I venture to say that you're not necessarily dressing like this because you want to go incognito as a rich person, but because you are self-made and you've always dressed like this. Just because you have more money in your bank account doesn't necessarily mean that you have to upgrade your living expenses. You are very good at resisting lifestyle inflation. And the reason why you're succeeding and doing better is because you're not pressured into lifestyle inflation. I used to go to estate sales as like another hobby of mine. I used to go to estate sales specifically in rich neighborhoods. When you go into a rich person's house, honestly, the furniture is pretty bland. It's not like the most expensive furniture. Honestly, there's IKEA furniture in there. And sometimes you may even go into a rich person's house and then they have like a folding chair, like the folding table that you play poker on, with like folding chairs as their dining table. And I actually know somebody who is doing pretty well, but whenever guests come over, they would serve a meal on like a paper plate, and then sometimes they would reuse the plate. So like if a billionaire wants to buy a dress shirt from Old Navy, I don't really see anything wrong with that. They're just keeping on with their normal person habits. They've resisted lifestyle inflation. Maybe they just don't care about their clothes. In fact, I recently learned that Steve Jobs' turtlenecks are Issey Miyake, very high-end Japanese fashion designer. But the story is, back in the day when Steve Jobs was touring Japanese plants to glean some ideas for Apple, he loved the design of the uniforms that the workers had there, and all the uniforms were designed by Issey Miyake. Having heard this, Issey Miyake sent Steve Jobs kind of a lifetime supply of black turtlenecks. So even though his turtleneck is from a high-end fashion designer, he didn't pay for it. And that's another thing with rich people and or famous people, is that you could get designer items and not even pay for them. So that's what happens when frugality meets luck. So quiet luxury for me has this feel of a secret society. The Skulls, the Elks Club, the Freemasons. Everyone is wearing like well-tailored items that look like workwear, but if you know, you know. So I see this super rich people nodding to each other off the street like, ooh, that's a coat from the Row, or ooh, I know one of those. That's the shirt from Brunello Cucinelli. Obviously I don't know, so I'm not in the know. Then I came across the whole whole sphere of poverty core, working class tourism, working class cosplay, hobocore. Ooh, hobocore, that one's spicy. This is the instance of rich people cosplaying poor people or regular people. So there was a railway workers' strike in England. The union organizer was on the news. He was being interviewed about how they need better pay, better working conditions, but he happened to be wearing a North Face puffer jacket while he was giving the interview, and the logo was loud and clear right here. A lot of people on Twitter gave him grief for asking for better wages when he can afford to wear a $300 North Face jacket. So when I read that article, the first thing that came to mind is, what do you think a working class guy who's a union leader should wear? Is he not allowed to wear the North Face? And when you really think about it, and trust me, I am a frequent shopper of REI, the North Face, while it sets you back $300 for a puffer jacket, that jacket is going to last you a long time. It's not even on the very high end of outerwear. He could be wearing a Canada Goose. He could be wearing Patagonia. The North Face is actually in the mid-range. What do you think a working class man who's in a union should wear? Just because he's working class doesn't mean he can't buy a jacket that could keep him warm during a bitter English winter. Like, what is he supposed to wear? Should he wear like rags, come wearing a hard hat and smear his face in coal soot? Is that what we want him to wear so we can sympathize with his cause that the union needs more money? It really opens up a can of worms when somebody asks for a higher wage and they're seen wearing the North Face jacket. Then you can say like, no, I'm not going to give you any more money. Look, you can afford $300 for a jacket, but you don't know if he got that North Face jacket secondhand. You got it 50% off on eBay. It just led to a lot of deep thoughts about the fabric of our society and how we're programmed to think that somebody in the working class, if they want to ask for more money, if they want to ask for a livable wage to keep up with the pace of inflation, they should come begging. Is that what we're saying? In order to feel sorry for this man's cause, he should have come on TV to give his interview in rags, and then we can see how poor he is. In summary, the Union Man North Face jacket scenario, a good case of making us question what we think working class, middle class, upper class, rich people should dress like. Is there a sumptuary law we don't know about? I'm just gonna go back to the medieval times. There was sumptuary laws which dictated that if you were of lower class, you cannot wear a fur cloak or you cannot wear velvet. That's reserved for the aristocrats, for the nobility, for the king or the queen. The king or the queen can only wear purple. That's something that the courtiers cannot wear. And if you are caught dressed above your class, there are punishments. I'm not sure what these punishments were. I don't want to say death is a punishment, but I'm pretty sure it's severe. I'm pretty sure you get flogged, maybe you get put in the stocks. Maybe they march you around the village square naked and ring a bell next to your head. Shame, shame. So maybe that's what happens to you if you're caught dressed above your station. If you somehow got your hands on the Earl's fur coat and you decided to parade around the neighborhood pretending to be the Earl, cosplaying the Earl, you're gonna get reprimanded. I am not certain if there is a punishment doled out to the nobility who want to enact a Prince and the Pauper situation where they're sick of their castle and they want to go out into the city like Princess Jasmine dressed like a peasant. At the end of the day, the rich could pretend to be peasants, and if they're caught, they're like, it's just a hobby, it's just something I do. It's just I've taken a liking to that beggar's cloak and here I go, being humble. I don't think they'll get punished for that. So the rich can always dress like they're poor, and at the end of the day, they can go home to their comfortable homes and their comfortable lifestyle. But when the poor cosplay rich, they'll get severely punished. I'm going out on a limb to assume that the purpose of sumptuary laws is so that nobody could become an identity thief or impersonate a noble or the prince, king, royalty. Back then, nobody really had any ID cards. There's no driver's licenses, there's no photo identification identification. The only thing you had going for you if you were noble was like a portrait painted of you. And most of the times the portrait are exaggerated to make you look attractive, when in real life you probably were not. Everybody's got a photo filter on their portrait. So in the medieval days, if you were to dress like a peasant and sneak out of your castle and go into the town to do what you do, chances are that most people in the town won't know that you're of nobility. And if you try to return back to the castle, you can only hope that the guards recognize you and know who you are. Clothes really do change your identity, especially back then. Let's say that you snuck out and then you come back and there's like a new guard who's just hired. He would probably like try to keep you out of the castle unless there's somebody there to vouch for you, or you have like a signet ring, which is your identification, and you flash the signet ring. He's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm first day on the job. I think like identity theft could be a real danger back then, and that's why people of different classes stuck to their sumptuary laws, because a peasant has more to gain to impersonate a prince than a prince has to impersonate a peasant. That's solely the reason, is to keep peasants from impersonating nobility. 10, 15 years ago in China, there's this homeless guy, unhoused guy, Brother Sharp, and he was captured in a photo, and everybody determined that he had a really cool look. He was very attractive. He became like this internet sensation and style icon. People wanted to find him while he's on the street and take their selfies with him. And later on, he became the muse, the inspiration for this couture hobo fashion line. And he even modeled in it. I don't know how much money he got out of all this publicity about using his romanticized, wandering vagabond image of being homeless. I don't know how much he was able to profit off of it. Most likely, fashion designers and everybody profited off of him, and he really didn't see much money. And then there was an article in Guardian, interviewed the photographer of a homeless Prada photo shoot. I had the idea when I saw this young homeless guy walking across Waterloo Bridge with a tartan blanket over his shoulder. He was striding through traffic that wasn't moving, so he had the upper hand, and he had this amazing nobility and grace. There was something baronal about him, and it is quite an appealing lifestyle, being outside society, slightly loony and alone. It's a life that I wouldn't have the courage to live, but it is noble and aspirational. To sum up, this photographer saw a homeless man on the street, and the homeless man appeared to him so noble and aspirational and free that he was inspired to create this homeless photo shoot. There is a trend throughout history of the rich romanticizing the poor. They see this serf, this peasant, breaking his back in the wheat fields, working hard from sun up to sundown to put food on his table. There's morality in this. They definitely encourage it. I see it in all those Soviet propaganda posters, but I also see it like in the 19th century capitalism. The worker is noble, and the worker is beautiful and moral, and something to aspire to when he's working himself to death. But when he's not working and he dares to unionize, when he dares to work smarter and not harder, then he's like immediately villainized. The whole concept of the noble poor person, or the noble worker, the noble peasant working himself to death in the fields, in the factory, it's all kind of like a propaganda, a lie agreed upon by those who control the means of production in order to keep the working class meek and in their place and from revolting. I think at the heart of those who control society, the top 1%, there's this French Revolution PTSD. Don't you agree? There's this sense of fear of being toppled. There's actually this fear of the masses. And maybe that's why they want to distinguish themselves from the masses. Maybe that's why they feed you the fact that you are noble when you work harder. And so what reward do you have for working your entire life and only getting paid minimum wage, pennies on the dollar back in the day? You have heaven. When you die, you go to heaven. You have good work is its own reward. A noble, moral, good person should not want more than he is given. Maybe the 3 most feared words to the top 1% is liberty, equality, fraternity. Do you hear the people singing a song of angry men? It is the music of a people who will not be slaves again. They don't want to hear that. That's very bad, very bad. And now that I've put 2 and 2 together, I wonder how long I have to live weeks, if I don't upload something in 3 weeks, then you know that I've cracked the code here. A rich person came up to me on their horse, on horseback, and like bludgeoned me with their polo mallet. And now I'm laying in the river somewhere, unalived. I've been unalived, guys. Been unalived by Percival. So, guys, subscribe to my channel. If you want, that is. It's hard for me to ask for things. I have too much pride.